Welcome to Launch Code, a premier business podcast, starring Evan Hafer, Matt Best, and Jared Taylor.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Launch Code. We are coming at you live, well, recorded live. We're live. This is a recording. San Antonio, Texas. I'm here with Trevor the Seal.
Hey.
And his good buddy Kyle, who is an EOD. Kyle, thanks for coming on today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And today we're going to talk about what is an EOD, how do you become an EOD,
Why would you become an EOD?
exactly, like who EODs work with, how they do it. Everyone's seen Hurt Locker. Let's just go ahead and kick it off with that. Have you seen the Hurt Locker?
Yeah, that's an awful movie.
Really?
Oh, you'd be dead inside it like 2 weeks if you did that.
So it's not
But
accurate to say
you'd
that there's
look really good doing it.
Oh yeah. So you're saying it's not accurate to say that there's like a 3-man EOD team like cruising around Iraq just doing whatever the fuck they want to do, hanging out in the desert by themselves?
Yeah.
Not like that.
Not like that.
Are they that pretty?
No. Yeah.
Do y'all get drunk and like beat each other up and like in your barracks and stuff?
No.
Hold knives to each other's throats and have boxes of bombs you've disposed of, and that's not accurate?
No.
Damn
Damn it. My dreams have been crushed.
Yeah, I generally don't want to get blown up in my own shop.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like fun.
No, you don't go to Valhalla like that.
I hear you. All right, so Kyle, where are you from originally? Where'd you go to high school? What state?
Up in upstate New York.
Okay.
Yeah.
You don't have an accent.
No. Been kind of traveling around for the last 15 years.
They blew it up out of him.
Yeah.
There you go. All the accent's been blown out of him. So, like, you went to high school, finished high school, and then what happened?
I joined the Navy and went right into EOD.
Really?
Right into our pipeline.
What year was that?
2003.
Okay. What was the call? Like, did you know that's what you wanted to do? I mean,
It just looked cool, and the war had just kicked off, so I thought that'd probably be a pretty big part of it.
Odin came down and spoke to you.
It turned out I was right.
so you go into a recruiter's office. What happened?
So I did a bunch of research, and
This is the first person that's ever said that they did research before they enlisted.
Well, yeah, that's the difference between an EOD guy and a SEAL.
Yeah. My research was, this looks hard. I want to do that.
Or saw a movie. Always wanted to be like Charlie Sheen.
Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the hair
We're
for
all
it. So.
stupid.
So I call that salon quality hair. I can spot a SEAL from a mile.
Yeah, this is just
He did call me out.
just clean living in a pure heart, right?
Yeah, he
here.
walked in the room and I was like, "Oh, you're a SEAL." He goes, "Yeah." I was like, "I'm batting 1,000, man. Look at that hair."
Well, usually they just
fucking
tell you,
haircut.
Yeah, I didn't give him a chance. His head entered, and I was like, "Oh, we got one." So you did a bunch of research.
Yep. Yeah, and I looked at all the different like special operations programs that involve diving. So I was big into diving growing up.
Still are.
Well, yeah, it's more work related, but yeah, and EOD looked cool, so went and signed up. Back then, the pipeline's changed a bunch since I came in, but back then you just get through boot camp, go to an A school to get like a regular Navy job, and then you'd go apprentice at a unit for like 6 months and just work out and take out trash.
Yeah. And pipeline being, for everybody listening, you sign on a dotted line to be in the military, and it's all the steps that specific branch has to get you to X job. So EOD, SEAL, pararescue.
Did you have to have a certain like ASVAB score to?
Yes.
All of
I'm
the
sure
points?
there's science.
Yeah,
All the points.
It's pretty high.
What was your ASVAB?
I had a 96 or 7, I think. Yeah, Trevor's indicating that he did too.
There you go.
I don't do research, but I have a high ASVAB score.
Yeah, so once you get through, back then you'd go and apprentice for a while at a unit. And
What does that
then
entail, like apprenticeship? Whatever you're allowed to talk about.
You're just working out and taking out the trash, and they're kind of feeling you out to see if they like you.
It's imagine standard like new guy stuff at a fraternity, but for 2 years.
Well, yeah, for us, the apprentice thing was like, it's supposed to be like 3 months long. I ended up getting hurt and stayed there for 6.
Clumsy bastard.
Yeah. But after that, you go to dive school, then EOD school, and then like attack training and jumping, and you go to Benning for basic airborne, which was wonderful. And then,
did you get hurt there?
Yes, I did. I broke my back in 2 places at Benning.
Did you hook up with any chicks at the Howard Johnson in downtown Columbus?
I'm gonna pass on that.
Yeah, dude, that hotel in the Hojo in Columbus, you literally enter a room. You step foot in a room. All the carpet in there is like dark maroon, like super dark maroon, and you just look around and you're like, think of the debauchery that has taken place in this room. Don't take your shoes off. Like, you shower with your clothes on and shoes.
Yeah, the place is gross.
Yeah, it's insane. So you mentioned you went to dive school.
Yep, that's kind of where we weed people out for physical stuff. Now it's kind of changed up. We do a pre-screening up in Chicago. That's a couple weeks long.
I think it's coordinated with Navy Diver and the SEAL SWIC program.
Yeah, we do like a pre-screener because it was just really expensive to send people from boot camp that weren't going to pass dive school down there.
So, and the reason you guys would go to dive school is, this is going to sound absurd, but I guess EODs, like you guys, you know how to blow stuff up underwater, huh?
Well, and what's the historical mission of EOD? Or
so
one of the offshoots from the historical mission.
Our community, SEAL and EOD used to be the same thing. It used to be UDT. And then, and I'm going to mess this history up, but...
it's okay because no one listening knows.
Yeah. So our two communities kind of bifurcated, I think in the 60s, and turned into SEAL, which was more the reconnaissance and raiding and things like that. And then EOD... which was underwater mines and beach clearance and beach recce.
The things you don't want to do.
And then all of like the surface EOD stuff, so conventional ordnance, IEDs, all of that stuff.
So like, I guess, blowing up, if there was like, things on the beach that would prevent a boat or something from landing, you guys would go in and clear it out or something?
Yeah, yep.
Okay.
So clear lanes for...
Higgins boat.
Yeah, amphibious invasions and things like that.
All right. And then, so dive school, apprenticeship, they liked you? Or maybe they didn't like you.
Yeah, I was super young. So
yeah.
I came in the Navy at 17, and then I got through EOD school at 19.
So let me ask you this. Navy, is it called boot camp or basic training? What's it called?
It's boot camp?
I think it's boot camp.
Yeah.
Shocker. I have two Navy guys and no one knows the answer to that.
Well, I mean, like, you joined in when?
2003.
Yeah, and I joined in 07. I mean, that was 11. I don't remember.
So you get to
hit my head a couple
basic
times.
training boot camp that the Navy does in Chicago, and then you go to the EOD and you apprentice. What was that like? Was it from one extreme to the other? Like, was boot camp easy, and then you get into the apprenticeship and you're like, whoa, was there a wake up call, like an aha moment? Or
boot camp is physically really easy in the Navy.
It's emotionally
it's
ridiculous.
Not anymore if you're going to a special operations program, because we have our own.
It is now. There's
folks.
Other things that they do in preparation, like he was speaking towards, but they pretty much don't do anything in boot camp physically for the Navy cats.
Yeah. So, big surprise, we have trouble getting volunteers for our program.
And that's why we're talking about this right now. That's why we're talking about this right now.
So
raise your hand if you want to play with wires.
Yeah. Hey, listen, hold on.
Yeah.
The next 50 people that are listening to this that go to their Navy recruiting depot and sign up, Kyle will come and let you blow up an abandoned car.
None of
that's
that is
an
gonna
offer
happen.
for the next 50 people that sign up. Get down there today. It's Saturday. You don't have shit to do. Go blow up a car. Go down there. Tell him Kyle sent you.
On Baker, I'll give you his credit card number.
That's fine. You know how I work with those things. So you get in apprenticeship. Then what happens after that?
You go through, I think it's 9 months now, but you tack on underwater after that. So it's a really long school for EOD. And it's a joint service school.
So with the Army?
Army, Marine Corps, Air Force. We all send our guys through the same EOD, like baseline EOD school. And then if you're a Navy EOD guy, you do all the underwater stuff after.
What was that like going to a school with like members of other branches and stuff?
It's kind of weird. Everybody's coming from a different culture, but
different haircuts.
Yeah, a little bit different
standards.
uniforms
and stuff.
But all the Navy classes are all Navy guys.
Right.
So some of the instructors will be from different services, but everybody you're kind of going through with is all Navy.
And then so you're going through that and like you're doing physical work and they're thrashing you guys, I'm sure. And
it's a lot of like, it's kind of hard to describe. It's a lot of practical application training, but you're getting tested, I think, probably every other day.
Right. Like academically or physically?
It's like practical application. Like, go out and defuse this bomb.
So their program has a lot of physicality, but it's less of a physical selection process than, say, like being a SEAL or being at Ranger School, because our primary focus is assaulting and raiding and that side of the house. Their job is far more technical. There's a lot more shit that they have to know and be able to deal with, which is why they're getting tested more on that, because that's much more important for their project.
Yeah, I would imagine like a guy that's super smart and can pick up like explosive chemistry in 2 days is more important than a guy that runs like a 15-minute 5K but doesn't know like multiplication tables.
They're both important.
They're just weighted.
It's more about stress management, which sounds weird, but like the whole time you're getting tested like every 2 days, and you can mess something up and it's immediately a failure, right? So,
because I mean, like a bomb would blow up and kill people, yeah. I mean,
right, yeah, and that's kind of the mentality. So you really just can't have a bad day.
No mulligans.
No. And
hey, that's shit, man. Can we undo this bomb? Damn it.
But yeah, so it's a really high stress thing, and we lose a lot of guys from just not being able to perform like that.
Really?
What kind of attrition rate is there?
I don't know. I think it's up in the 70s or 80s.
That's pretty high.
I mean, I started with 30 guys in my class, and we ended with 5.
So
all the way through.
Look, like not looking back now, obviously, you know, like I ask a lot of guys this question, like, you know, most SEALs are like, you know, buds, you know, it sucked, but whatever, you know. But like during the school part, the what we're just talking about, what was the hardest part for you? Like not now, but in the moment. You know, maybe it's a moment you got through and you're like, oh, that wasn't so bad. But in the moment, it was really difficult for you. Like, what was the hardest part for you?
I don't know. A lot of the academic stuff was really hard.
Really?
Yeah. And it's like...
Don't you guys have, like, really ridiculous memorization tests? Like every single hand grenade or...
No. You have... It's different than that. It's like you have to be able to look at something and understand how it works. Is the most important part. Like, so you look at like, say a particular landmine, and you have to be able to say like, hey, this is how this functions
on the inside.
Right.
I don't just need to know the color of the crayon.
So there's some tricks to kind of figure out, you know, how to do that, and then based on that, you have to figure out procedures and you know and be able to find it in the publications.
And then I imagine there's some stuff like not all like IEDs or bombs or whatever, like, you know, the ones that are made over there that aren't professionally made, like grenades or landmines, I imagine they all look a little bit different.
Oh, yeah. So when you get in the improvised space, everything is different. So
what do you mean improvised space? What does that mean?
Like when you're doing IEDs, okay. Those are all different every single time.
Okay.
And then that gets more contextual to where, depending on where it's placed, that's going to be a whole different problem, you know.
Like wall versus floor versus ceiling versus
right, or
car.
If there's assets around it that you don't want to destroy, or you know, and that turns into like I've done a lot of IEDs, and every single one has been different.
Leave the house. We're just going to blow it up.
Yeah, and sometimes that is an option.
Yeah.
Right.
Sometimes it's not.
Right. So,
have you ever seen something that it just tilted you? You're like, what the fuck is this?
Oh yeah.
But like where like this looks really bad, and I don't know what the fuck I'm looking at.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are the things that
a lot.
Those are the things that we look at, and I'm like, put the chem lights here. Yep, I'm not touching that.
Yeah. Call an Uber.
Kyle,
get an Uber.
I'm like,
so like that sounds pretty challenging.
Yeah,
you know?
It is.
What did you like? Like, what was your favorite part though? Okay, so we talked about what was the hardest. You said some of the academic stuff was pretty difficult. Yeah. What was your favorite part? Like, or what was 2 questions? What did you like the most? What was the easiest for you?
IEDs, and I like the chess game of it, and it's challenging and scary, and I don't know, it just feels great when you nail it. Like,
yeah.
And that sounds weird and
No, because it's I think mathematically, like binary, like things. I'm pretty extreme, like it's this or this.
Yeah.
So it's like
it's never like that with us. So like there's.
But when you get it
all of
right,
this,
you're like, I got it right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's all this ambiguity, and you're making decisions with very little information. And
there's no instruction manuals.
No, and
here's the IED. Here's the instruction manual buried. It's buried a foot beside it. That doesn't happen.
No. So like, and you're dealing with all that ambiguity, and I'm sure it's the same in like the business world where you're making these decisions with really imperfect information, and they matter, right? Those decisions matter. So.
Yeah. So what was you liked the IEDs the most?
Yep.
What were you the best? What was the easiest for you?
I don't know. Some of the conventional stuff is just following a recipe book, and it's easy. You know?
So it sounds like there might be some stuff. So, a little bit kind of off topic, but, I talk to people all the time about, like, why do we have to take, algebra and stuff like that? And I imagine there's things that you guys learned that were kind of redundant but you just learned the basics of everything. And then it allows you, it's like a discipline thing. Like you go through steps like, this has never been seen in Afghanistan or Iraq, but you're still going to learn how to do it, or things that are so like outdated, like.
They do that in all the pipelines.
Yeah.
Like there are traditional things that all the pipelines will do, because if you can functionally do, like for us, in BUDS, we do hydrographic recons with a lead weight and a 550 cord line. That shit ain't happening anymore. It hasn't happened for 60 years, right? We have technology to do that.
Yeah. Right.
But the thing is, if you can functionally do that as a class, they know that you can functionally do other more complicated, higher stress things.
Yeah. It's mental discipline. It's like you don't have to want to do it and you don't have to like it, but you just got to do it and just do it. You just got to get to it.
Do the thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's something we're always trying to revise is like, why are we doing this in training? Does this actually indicate a quality in someone that we're looking for? But yeah, a lot of that stuff, you learn the basics so you can deviate later.
Right.
And you still have that in the toolbox so you can kind of fall back on that if you need to.
And then also, like, I think you can find people that like look for shortcuts. It's like, do it this way and do it right. And if you have certain people that just aren't willing to adapt to that just for the sake of doing it, it's like, whoa. If he's going to take a shortcut here.
To a point, I mean, sometimes that ends up being a quality that they can be looking for, somebody that's trying to find a more efficient way. If it's a shortcut, and I'm like putting that in quotes, to avoid doing work, that's something that can get identified by an instructor or staff, right? But if it's a more efficient process, maybe that's a thing that they want to see from somebody.
How to build a better mousetrap.
Yeah. Like that's a quality that they look for. More often than not, it's, I don't want to do this. And the guy's trying to be a sandbagger.
Or you're...
That's the more common thing.
It's a window onto what that guy's thought process is, too.
Yeah, and those are rare glimpses. Most often, it's bury the head and go forward.
Right. So you get through the pipeline.
And then you're brand new.
and now you're new.
And do you get like a patch or like a sticker or like a pin or something?
We've got a little badge with a bomb
on
it and cross lightning bolts and a wreath. But
like in Mario Brothers or something?
Well, our community is is a little bit different than like the frogs. So we have 3 different levels. We have basic, senior, and master. And it takes years between each.
Right.
Each
what
one.
are you?
A master. Yes.
So you're the highest?
Yep.
So you're like the best in the world?
Yeah, I'm just functional.
There you go. Humble gentleman here. So you get through the pipeline. Now you got your thing.
Crab.
Your crab. It's called a crab?
Yep.
Very cool. And then where'd you go from there?
I went to our unit up in Washington State back when we had one up there.
Okay. And what year was this?
Man, that'd be fun.
03.
03. So in 03, you're in Washington.
Or no, sorry, I graduated school 05. Or like everything together is around 2 years long.
Okay.
So
you're there, and then you're in a unit, and you're training, and then where from there?
I went on an aircraft carrier and then into Afghanistan for a while.
So you deployed to Afghanistan?
Yep.
What was it like? Like, how long before you deployed did you know you were going to deploy to Afghanistan?
That I was, I think I got added like 3 or 4 months before we left.
So you knew you were going.
Edition.
Were you excited?
Yeah.
You wanted to do it. You were looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's a common quality in guys that end up in the special operations communities in all the branches. Guys get told, especially guys that have joined post 9/11. They want to go overseas. They want to deploy. They want to be deployable. They want to be deploying.
So no one's like, I'm going to enlist to defend my country
and not do it.
But I don't want to go to war.
That is not a quality that they see, nor do they want in those communities, and they're washing out for that. Like,
right.
They make it ardently clear that this is your damn job.
Well, and for the last
17
years we've been at war, so it's everybody that's joined,
they've all grown up with it,
right? But everybody in my generation's joined during wartime.
And, I mean, it's the same thing. Like all the instructor cadre at Buds when I was there, like they were all coming back from 1, 2, 3 deployments to Iraq. This is just how it was. Like, I'm sure it was similar to going through Buds in the mid-late 60s, and I'm sure that being at the EOD schoolhouse, it's like, hey, look, we've done the thing.
So what you're saying is that the question, what was it like, has been asked more between 2001 and 2010 than any other decade in the history of this country.
What do you mean? How so?
Guys walking up to dudes that have deployed and being like, hey, man, what was it like?
Probably.
Well, and everybody's experience differs. I mean, you can
drastically.
Yeah. And like when I joined and went through EOD school, it's before a lot of the IED threat had materialized. So
yeah, I mean, a lot of the work that they were doing early in the war was in thin-skinned vehicles because you didn't have the threat.
What year did the IEDs become a real problem?
Oh God!
I just read the book 2005. Yeah, I just read
5 or 6. Is when
I read
started seeing nastiness.
I read a book called Left of Boom, and it was a case officer who wrote a book, and it was talking about when the IED scene really ramped up.
Yeah,
and it was a huge problem. Like I think the number of deaths or injuries from IEDs went from some number that sucked to like 10x that.
Yeah, shit went pear-shaped like immediately.
Yeah,
like immediately.
I mean, that had kind of a takeoff function where they started to realize that it was a really effective TTP for them.
Especially against, at the time, the conventional forces and how they operated. They're reactionary, right? And it's tough to deal with, and it's also interesting to deal with reactionary forces like that, and we see the result all the time.
Yeah, and you're always trying to anticipate what the enemy's going to do, but it's a really hard thing until that materializes, and they can change something in a minute way.
More puzzles.
Really cheap.
Lots of puzzles.
That changes the whole environment.
So let me ask you this. Are there guys that go through Buds and become a SEAL or go through that pipeline and become an EOD and realize that they don't want to go to war? Or like a guy that goes through the test, passes the test, and he's the thing, and then it's like, wait a minute, man, like I don't really know if I want to go fight over there.
Well, that's the thing with, and Trevor can speak to the SEAL side of the house, but our entire program's volunteer. So at any point, if you want to turn in your badge,
feel free
and leave the community. And I've seen that a few times.
So it has happened.
Well, and do they say this in EOD? They say it at the teams. You earn your trident every day, and the entire time you're there, it's a selection process. You can get removed at any time.
Oh yeah, we do that as well.
Sorry, bro, this ain't for you. And maybe we have seen that this isn't for you. Maybe you're just not safe.
Yeah.
And
I know you want it.
For everybody out there, like, let me not put this lightly. If you are applying for any of the special warfare programs, those are combat programs in the military. Do not do it if you don't want to go overseas. It's not a cool guy job. That shit's fucking earned in blood. Like, don't go over there if you don't want to do it. Sorry.
Yes, I mean it's the real deal. It doesn't get any more real than that.
No, and
with that, thanks for listening. Just kidding.
Come on.
No, that was great.
Got to.
That was great. So you deploy.
Yep.
And obviously, I'm not going to ask you any like technical or questions that might get anybody in trouble. But what was it like, dude? You get on a plane, you land there, like you get off the plane, you're like, hell yeah, ready to go, and like.
So this is the weird thing that's different than other communities. So we work in really small teams, usually 2 or 3 guys. And
so like 2 or 3 EODs would be attached to
like a Marine heavy weapons company or a SEAL platoon or
because they have a hyper specialty.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not going to deploy all of them all together to all one spot for all one.
So it's like JTAC sort of like
very much
similar.
like a
Exactly.
CCT or a PJ
TAC
or
so like an ODA would an ODA have an EOD with them?
Yeah, it just depends on who who requests us and who gets us. Yeah.
Okay, so hypothetically speaking, there could be an Army Special Forces Operational Detachment Alpha 12-man team with a Navy EOD attached to them and an Air Force TAC-P attached to them.
Yeah, and they pretty much exclusively use us as far as EOD guys.
They like the Navy.
We service all of the special operations community.
Okay. So at any given time, there are EODs attached to conventional forces, attached to Tier 1 special forces groups, and
across the board.
Everybody.
Everybody needs that function.
Everybody wants an EOD.
That's the cool part about our community that the frogs don't necessarily get to do is I get a lot of variety in my mission set and what I'm doing. And I've done a bunch of deployments, and they're all different.
But as opposed to like what I do or what I've done, where the variety I see is the rare or occasional guy that's there augmenting or is there attached to for a short time. Most of the guys I worked with were other frogs.
So, but when you you would be attached for that deployment, would there ever be a time when you were like with this group for 2 months and then you went over to another group for 2 months, or?
Oh yeah, all the time. And it just depends on the mission and depends on what we're doing.
More puzzle pieces, more fun.
Yeah, and every single time it's different. Yeah.
Is there a specific deployment where you're going to be attached to this type of group that you guys want, like, oh please God, let me get attached to this group, or is it just you take what you get?
I mean, it's all needs of the Navy. You take what you get.
Yeah, doesn't matter what you think. You just
now, and we're always kind of undermanned, so
really
you're habitually just kind of stealing from Peter to pay Paul on the manning side of the house.
So, your first deployment, do you remember the first explosive thing you ever had to deal with, or like?
Yeah, so we were doing a lot of we're blowing up a lot of conventional ordnance that we captured,
like buried howitzer rounds and
stuff like that,
like stockpiles,
like 155s and
that's you end up doing a lot of that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
there wasn't a lot of IED threat at that time in that area.
Did the training leading up to your first deployment, the way I like to ask it is the notes that you studied for the test, was the training good? Like, did you go in feeling prepared, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
And we did a lot of pre-mission training. We do a whole workup cycle.
Mm-hmm.
So you do a lot of practice.
Yeah.
Beforehand.
How long until you saw something you were like, holy shit?
Probably my second deployment in Iraq.
Yeah. And you were like, okay.
Yeah, oh, this is weird.
That's a new flavor.
Yeah. But again, the improvised stuff is always
and you enjoy deployment?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Everybody does.
Yeah.
Are you allowed to say how many times you deployed?
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
He's counting on his hands for everyone that's listening.
I've done five deployments.
Yeah.
He has all of his fingers and toes.
Yeah. But I do enjoy deployment.
Yeah. You ever been rocked by an explosion?
Not too bad.
He just
you ever been knocked
hands.
down?
He just counted on his hands.
Yeah. No, I didn't just count on my hands.
You have been knocked down?
Yeah.
There's too many.
Yeah.
You have been knocked down. That's good. And so, what are you? So you've been in for 15 years.
Yep.
And you're going to finish out. You got 5 more.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So, how has it changed? I mean, answer what you can. How has it changed now from when you started? I'm sure everything's gotten better and more advanced, and
and the threat has gotten more advanced and a lot better, but so has all of our training and equipment. And when I started EOD, we were rolling around almost like a civilian bomb squad,
right?
Which is obviously not super appropriate for the environment we're going into. And now we just have robotic systems and the best
smarter,
gear,
work smarter, not harder.
Technologies.
Oh, and our funding is better, and our equipment's better, and our acquisitions folks are better.
It takes up so much more of the threat now. That's shit that's buried or placed somewhere is causing
us getting
such
money.
an issue. Yeah.
Do you ever like bomb sniffing dogs and stuff? I mean, is that a thing you guys mess with?
No, we don't do that.
But is it
more
a thing?
like security guys and I think some of the frogs are dog handlers, right?
They are. Well, and I mean, I can only speak hypothetically here, but I have a feeling that in some of those areas there's so much crap floating around that might not be the best way to get that done. There are other.
And a dog doesn't really tell me anything as an EOD guy.
It just says. It tells him the same thing that I can tell him. Like that looks fucking weird.
Yeah, and I'm like, all right, cool. Well,
yeah,
I still have to go look at it.
The dog thinks it's weird too. It's definitely weird.
The dog also thinks it's weird.
Yeah, like if a dog does or doesn't sit on something, it's not driving what I'm doing.
One of my buddies I worked with his name was Chris. He was a dev group guy, and he told me a story. Like I remember seeing some picture on the internet of like a seal dog, like with the eye goggles and all this crazy shit, and like doing a jump. And I was like, hey man, I said to him, I was like, you ever see shit like this? He goes, dude. He goes, I've jumped with those things many times. He's like, you'd be kind of nervous or antsy or whatever for whatever you're doing. Like it was like a night jump or night infill or whatever. He goes, you look over and you see this fucking dog sitting there with goggles on. And it doesn't matter how nervous you are, apprehensive, you can't help but just kind of chuckle.
Yeah.
Like there's a fucking dog in the plane with us wearing goggles.
Those things are little meat missiles too.
And it's sort of like Baby Bjorn on the front of the tandem master. It's just like, that's how they have him like, all right.
He just said it was always a calming effect. He's like, fucking dog's got on goggles, man. He's going to jump out of the plane with us. This is fucking crazy.
Yeah,
I'd be afraid of like taking its muzzle off after the jump and just getting lit up.
Oh, yeah.
That's when you put it on like a 30-foot leash and it's like, all right, who wants to undo the muzzle?
Yeah, with like 17 shot collars. You can't control the damn thing.
Those things are scary.
Tell me, your 15-year career, man, rewarding, like for there's someone listening, like why would they want to do what you did or do what you do, or like what are the benefits to joining? Like, is it rewarding? Like,
and it's something I'd never talk anyone into doing, right? It's like,
I mean, it's a volunteer job for a reason.
Yeah, and I don't know. I really like the variety of it. I like the kinds of challenges that you're presented. They're technical. They're you have to. I mean, it's kind of a cliche to say think outside the box, right? Because every special operations unit thinks outside the box.
Yeah, but it makes perfect sense.
You really do have to, develop new solutions. And you're going to see problems that no one's ever seen before and just roll with it. And
it sounds like you basically get a tour of the entire combat forces of the U.S. military.
You really do.
And, like, outside of, your EOD skill set, which you learned because that was your chosen field, have you picked up other skills from working with SEALs or working with, like, SF guys or Rangers or conventional forces?
And the cool thing is you get to see what works and doesn't work across the communities. And you end up, I mean, everybody does like CQB differently, right? From the way that, like, someone was talking the other day, the way that SEALs enter a room with the way they carry their rifle versus some have their muzzle down, SEALs like have theirs up or something like that.
And some of that's very like weird and almost for the reason of that's just how we do it.
Right.
And I'm not talking about stuff that ends up getting anybody hurt. It's just, that's a quirk that.
Yeah, and
those guys do that
there's
way.
Enough, there's enough range of what's possible and what's safe to do in some of those spaces that you do end up seeing a lot of different variations.
Yeah, it's not necessarily, that's not an analog problem, right? Like, that's not a 1 and a 0. It's a, what kind of fruit do you like?
Yeah.
Well, I like this. I like that. I like that. You're trying to feed the machine, and if it functions, it functions. And for some of those groups, it functions one way, and for some of those groups, it functions another. Like, you're not going to have, a battalion of 19-year-old Rangers doing the same shit that 12 guys at an ODA are going to do. It's just, it's not going to function.
It's a black box theory. Like, desired, you have A, it's A plus B equals C. C is the desired outcome. A is what you have to work with, and B has a black box around it. Doesn't matter what goes on in there as long as this equals this.
Well, yeah, and
some of the function.
It's more a function of like, can the system that you've built support doing this thing this way? Maybe they don't use IR chem lights to call this area good because they can't get IR chem lights, or you know what I mean. Like, there's a bunch of different like cultural and systemic variations that you'll see.
Some of them very much are cultural. Like, we do X like this, not because that's how it's always been done, but it works for our group.
Right.
All right, well, that's fine.
But and
Works.
there's weird little quirks, and you get to see a lot of that and see, I don't know, just kind of a broad swath of how people address these different problems, and it's really interesting. I've done a lot of like training foreign forces.
Oh, how's that?
I mean, it's a mixed bag,
Have you trained anyone that you were like, holy shit, these people are not smart?
Yeah, of course.
Have you learned? Have you learned anything from working with foreign forces?
That's where
we've all seen the jumping jack videos.
Yeah, that's where it's surprising is you take these guys that have no resources or they have
Zero
much
capability.
different concerns and see how they address these problems and see how you can help them address these problems, and that's when it gets really interesting.
Right. That's pretty cool.
It's rewarding too. I mean, because what end result? We want to leave a lot of these countries on their own, and hopefully, end goal, you can help these guys protect their own dirt.
Right. That's cool. So, for those of you listening, very rewarding, challenging. You get a tour of the entire combat structure of the U.S. military. You get to work with different branches, Air Force, Marines, Navy, Army, all different branches. And you get to blow shit up.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff.
Jump out of planes and
Scuba dive.
Scuba dive.
Yeah.
And remember,
pew, pew.
the next 50 people. Don't forget. Get to blow
On
up a
Baker.
derelict car. Yeah. So, all right. Kyle, thanks for coming, dude. This is very informative. Hopefully it connected with some people listening. Appreciate you're the first EOD guy we've ever had. We've had 7,000 SEALs on, so you're the first EOD guy. So
yeah.
Can you see all the hair everywhere?
That's great. So
This place is slick with hair gel.
yeah. So I'm Baker, Trevor the SEAL, my co-host, and Kyle the EOD. Thanks for listening, and look forward to interact. Fuck, shit. You're going to have to edit that because I just fucked that ending up really bad.
That's perfect.
How about this? Thanks for listening, folks. I screwed it up.